France has twice rejected visa applications from Nabil Tabarut, a 29-year-old web developer from Algeria who hopes this year to visit his sister there. He is among the many people navigating the often odious visa process throughout Africa, which faces higher visa rejection rates than anywhere else in the world when it comes to visiting Europe's Schengen area. So what does this tell you? It tells you that Africa has the highest rejection visa rates when it comes to Schengen areas, and yet they are making a whole lot of money from this visa that is being rejected to Africans. 2023 they made 130 million euros. It's called reverse remittance. These are money they make out of the visa they rejected to Africans. They, in the Schengen area in total, made 130 million euros compared to 105 million euros they made in 2022. And now they have even increased the visa fee. That is to say that by 2024, they will even make far more than the 130 million euros they made last year. Appointments are often difficult to secure. You see, getting the appointments is even very hard. Applicants often must prove a minimum bank balance, substantial the purpose of their visit, and prove they plan to return home. This is where they hold hand most of the time, so reject most African applicants. And our people must learn from this. This point of proving that you plan to return home. Yes. So it means that our people must learn to build themselves. If you know that you have intentions of traveling in the nearby future, take time to build yourself. Treat yourself like a product. Do whatever it takes to market yourself when applying for visa, that when you market yourself as a well product that is coming into the market, they will have no choice than to give you that visa, than to grant you that visa which you have applied for. But when you treat yourself, you don't treat yourself as a product that when you're coming into market, everybody wants to have you, then they can easily hide under that you don't have any plans of returning home to reject your visa. Meanwhile, they have already accepted your visa fee, which is not refundable. That is how it is. Every pleasure deserves pain, says Tabrut, who has succeeded just once in obtaining a French visa. Though much of Europe's debate about migration centers on people who arrive without authorization, many people choose to come by legal means. It is painful then to disclose that following the rules often fails. You see, he says that though it is painful then to discover that following the rules often fails. That is why maybe some people decide to follow the back door, because it's not everybody that has the patience of waiting to secure appointments which are difficult to come by, and it's not everybody in Africa that has what it takes to provide a bank balance that equates that they are substantially having the means to fund their travel themselves and to provide too that they have plans of coming back. The disproportionate rejection rates, 10% higher in Africa than the global average, hinder trade, business, educational partnership at the expense of African economies, according to an April study from UK-based migration consultants firm Henley and Partners. The study called the practices discriminatory and urged Schengen countries to reform them, which, with the current elections ongoing in Europe, and that the politicians are using this migration curve as a bait. That is the only thing they have under their agendas to win election. So I don't see them cutting it any soon, because that is the rhythm they are singing, and the third generations who don't really understand how the politics are being run here are dancing to it, forgetting that no matter how strict or how your country curbs migration, many of your sectors need skilled migrant workers to fill in your shortages, whether you like it or not. Nowhere are applicants more rejected than in Algeria. So even in Africa, Algeria is the most rejected. When it comes to visa application, they receive the highest visa rejections in Africa. So in Algeria, where more than 392,000 applicants were rejected in 2022, The 45.8% rejection rate is followed by a 45.2% rejection rate in Guinea-Bissau and 45.1% in Nigeria. So Algeria is first when it comes to the percentage of the rejection. They have 45.8%, and Guinea-Bissau has 45.2%, and Nigeria has 45.1%. Only 1 in 25 applicants living in the United States were rejected. While the study found that applicants from poorer countries experience higher rejections in general, it noted that applicants from Turkey and India experience fewer rejection than applicants from the majority of African countries. The reason for that anti-Africa bias could be politically, according to the study's author. So the reason for the could be politically motivated, according to the study's author, and they are saying that the European University Institute's Migration Policy Center, visa rejections are used as a political tool by European governments, including France, to negotiate the deportation of those who migrate to Europe without proper authorization. So you see, it's equally a game. Rejecting our people visa is a tool for them to negotiate. Is politically abused. They use it as an yardstick for them to negotiate to deport Africans who migrated illegally to Europe. So when your countries are not dancing to the tone for them to deport your people that came into their country without having the proper authorization, then they deny your people visa wickedly, because this is a wicked act. Because at the end of the day, they take the money that these people pay for this visa fee and they don't grant them the visa which they have paid for. Yes, and this is not good. And at the end of the day, these same people will preach democracy to you. These same people will preach human rights to you. While under the table, they rob Peter to pay Paul. What is the business of people applying for visa got to do with the people that get into your country without a proper authorization to get to your country? These are two different people. You cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. This is not fair. Visa rejections are based as a political tool by European governments, including France, to negotiate the deportation of those who migrate to Europe without proper authorization. North African governments have refused to provide consular documents for their citizens facing deportation. So, North African countries have refused. This is very good, to give their European counterparts the consular documents for their citizens facing deportation, which you know that the East African countries and West African countries governments, they are not man enough. They should learn from these North African governments who are refusing to do so. In an interview, Maru said Algeria has continent higher rejection rates because its number of applicants outpaces those from other African countries for geographic, economic, and historic reasons. Many Algerians apply for visas in France, where they speak the language and may have family ties. And North Africa's proximity to Europe means flights are short and cheap compared to flights from sub-Saharan Africa, leading more people to apply, he said. Beyond rejection rates, the difficulty of applying is also a policy chosen by European governments, Maru said. When we talk about increasing barriers for potential applicants, it is not only the rate of rejections, it is also the restrictions to apply. That means the challenges can be local too. For Algerians like Tabarutu, VFS Global is a new player in the visa application process. The subcontractor was hired by French consular authorities after years of criticism about the previous system being dominated by a so-called visa mafia. So if you are an Algerian and you want to, Algerian citizen, you want to apply for visa, so look out for this subcontractor, which is called VFS Global, which the French consular contracted after they faced a whole lot of backlashing. Applicants previously faced challenges securing time slots, which are quickly resolved by third-party brokers and then resold to public, similar to how scalpers have dominated concert platforms. Rumors swirled about intricate computer programs connecting to appointment platforms and gobbing up slots within moments. Under the previous system, applicants told the Associated Press they had to pay 15,000 to 120,000 Algerian dinars, equivalent to 103 to 825 euros, just to get an appointment. So you see what is happening. In Algeria, many decide to pursue opportunities in France after not finding adequate economic opportunities at home, or seek residence after going to French universities on study visas. According to a 2023 report from France Directorate General for Foreign Nationals, 78% of Algeria students say they have no intention of returning to Algeria upon finishing their studies. The visa issue has historically been a cause of political tensions between the countries. Algeria president is scheduled to visit France later this year. Everything that can contribute to increasing trade between France, Europe, and Algeria must be facilitated in both directions, French ambassador said at a recent economic conference in the capital of Algeria. Algerians who want to go to France to develop a business must be able to benefit from all the facilities, particularly visas. So it is only time will tell if the talk the Algerian president is going to have with France is going to bear forth fruit, that their people will stop suffering this wickedness of denying them visa because their embassy refused to give these European countries consular documents to deport Algerians who travel to France without having the proper authorization, and the whole of other African countries. Even Nigeria and other African countries who are giving them consular documents, they are still rejecting a whole lot of Nigerians and a whole lot of people from Guinea-Bissau. So this height of wickedness must stop in this 21st century.